For October 4th, City Council meeting, please stand and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, Matt, will you start us off with a roll call, please?
Councilor Robinson.
Here.
Demas.
Here.
Zadi. Here. Hickerson.
Here.
West.
Here.
Savage.
Here.
Vitolo.
Here.
Halter.
Here.
Mayor Como.
Here, Councilor's first order of business, I'd entertain a motion to approve the revised agenda you have before you here tonight.
So moved, Your Honor.
We do have a motion by Mr. President. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second's been called. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, councilors, this is going to move us on to the approval of the minutes for the City Council meeting minutes of September 20th, 2022. I would entertain a motion to approve these minutes.
So moved, Your Honor.
We do have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second's been called. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, this is going to take us right into our presentations and proclamations. And we're honored to have some sketchy folks with us here today. No, just kidding. Fire prevention. We do this every year, and we're honored to have our firefighters, some of our firefighters, and I believe Kelly Mathis here to receive the proclamation. Come up, Kelly, and tell us what's going on with Fire Prevention Week. What kind of activities do we have going on?
Absolutely. So fire prevention is next week. It is all across the nation. Fire departments dedicate this week to educating children about fire safety. So this year it is about learning when to exit your home. And this year we wanted to do a little bit different. The past 2 years have been a little rough. 2020, we didn't get into schools. 2021, we didn't get into schools either because of COVID and restrictions on us coming in and giving presentations. So 2021, we ended up changing our program, doing it digitally and releasing it through various digital platforms to the students. Parent Square, if any of you have kids, it went out directly to the kids. It went out to all the principals. And then the teachers were kind of on their own to give that presentation to the kids and let them watch and absorb that information. Well, those challenges ended up turning into an opportunity for us because we didn't really have much of a presence on social media or digital platforms. So in order to have better penetration into that market, we wanted to change things up this year, and we're going to start releasing videos on a quarterly basis. Shorter videos. Kids' attention spans are much shorter nowadays. They're not really paying attention for 20 minutes. If you look at TikTok, any other platforms that kids watch, 30, 90 seconds, and they're done. So we wanted to cater our platform to that and give them short safety messages. So we're going to start drip feeding those every quarter to the students. And then this year, we wanted to do a new program called Sound Off. Now, Sound Off is a nationally accredited program that they studied across the nation the best ages to absorb this information. The fire prevention information is 2nd and 3rd grade. That's kind of the place where you start to be cognizant enough to absorb these different programs and ideas the best. So Sound Off is a nationally accredited program that lets us go into each individual classroom, so smaller class sizes, lets us speak to those children, and then at the end of that program, they get a little survey that they take home to their families. Now, this survey lets the family look in the house and see how many smoke detectors they have, make sure they have one on every level, make sure that they're operating correctly. A lot of times you'll go through 10 years, not even know that your smoke detectors probably are at the end of their life.
Didn't we at one time do a replacement?
We still do.
Still do that?
Yes, and to try and help kick that off a little bit more. So the reason we wanted to focus there is because most fires that have fatalities have one common theme. And that common theme is a broken or not operating smoke detector. So if you are not alarmed in the middle of the night that there's a fire in your house, that's the most likely reason you're going to perish. So with educating children, and we can get these people to give us back surveys and let them know that, hey, we have a program that we can replace these smoke detectors in your house free of charge. Or, hey, let's say you've got a smoke detector that works, but the battery's bad, or it's in a vaulted ceiling that is that high and perhaps you're elderly or can't climb a ladder. We will come to your house free of charge, no big deal, help you replace that battery and make sure that is operational so your family is safe. And that's why we switched to the sound off program, because that gives us, as a department, leads to get into people's homes and help those people get operating smoke detectors. And it educates the kids on exit plans, the various sounds of the smoke detector. And if we do pre and post testing, which I'm going to do in one of the schools this year, they will actually write a, what's the grant called? The national grant for AFG grant. Yeah. AFG grant for smoke detectors for the state of Wyoming, for the entire state. They did that in California and Texas last year. They have, I think, 18 other states at this point, and they're slowly starting to push this program through the United States. Plus, all their materials are free. Everything's already produced for us. All we have to do is print it off. So it saves us a lot of time, a lot of money, and it helps us generate leads that gets us into people's houses and make their houses safer. So it really makes our communities safer all around by educating children and getting working smoke detectors in people's homes.
That is unbelievable. And I think we do take for granted our smoke alarms. Sometimes you're living in a house for 20, 25 years, and there it is, and you don't know if that thing works or not.
10 years goes by really, really fast. It's surprising.
Yes, exactly. Well, keep up the great work. And it's great that we have that opportunity to get the message out, because if they didn't hear it from you folks, they probably would never hear it. So that's good. Councilman Savage?
Thanks.
Yes, sir.
Plus, the other issue is the time change.
Yeah.
I was just thinking when you were talking that, I was somewhat listening, but I was thinking that, because I have a short attention span, we used to always change the batteries at the time change.
Right.
And it just flew by this year. It didn't even dawn on me till just now.
Yeah, and we're going to be getting rid of that here pretty soon. So the new recommendation is every month to test your smoke detectors. At least if we say every month, maybe somebody will remember every 6.
6 months.
Right.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Time flies.
I would probably be in that boat as well.
Yeah.
Your
Thank
Honor,
you.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that you've developed a new smoke detector that won't just let everybody know when I've burnt dinner.
Oh, yeah.
Or popcorn.
That's how I know mine's working.
I did that the other evening, and there's not a wisp of wind the past week. I couldn't get the smoke out of my house. I had to turn off my smoke detectors for like 30 minutes.
Right? Yeah.
And then turn them back on.
Sure.
Yes.
I get that.
No. Do not put a smoke detector in your cooking area or right outside of your bathroom. Steam will set it off, and usual cooking smells will set it off as well. So we want to place those a little further away.
Huh. That's good to know. Mine calls the fire department dispatch straight, and I have to sit and remember my code to make sure that they're not in transit tonight. It's happened a couple times. Well, we have a proclamation from the City of Rock Springs, and our proclamation reads, whereas the City of Rock Springs is committed to ensuring the safety and security of all those living in visiting our state. Fire is a serious public safety concern both locally and nationally, and homes are the locations where people are at greatest risk from fire. And home fires caused 2,580 civilian deaths in the United States in 2020, according to the National Fire Protection Association. And fire departments in the United States responded to 356,500 home fires. And smoke alarms sense smoke well before you can, alerting you to danger in the event of fire, which may have as little as 2 minutes to escape safely. As such, working smoke alarms cut the risk of dying in reported home fires by 1/2. And Rock Springs residents are encouraged to confirm that everyone in the home understands the sounds of the smoke alarms and how to respond, and should verify that their smoke and carbon monoxide CO alarms meet the needs of all their family members, including those with sensory or physical disabilities. And Rock Springs residents who have planned and practiced a home fire escape plan are more prepared and will therefore be more likely to survive a fire. and Rock Springs first responders are dedicated to reducing the occurrences of home fires and home fire injuries through prevention and protection education, and where the Rock Springs residents that are responsible to public education members are better able to take personal steps to increase their safety from fire, especially in their own homes. And the 2022 Fire Prevention Week theme, Fire Won't Wait, Plan Your Escape, effectively serves to remind Rock Springs it is important to have a home fire escape plan. And now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Timothy A. Como, Mayor of the City of Rock Springs, do hereby proclaim the week of October 9th through the 15th, 2022 to be Fire Prevention Week in Rock Springs, Wyoming, and I urge all the people of Rock Springs to plan and practice a home fire escape for Fire Prevention Week 2022 and to support the many public safety activities and efforts of Rock Springs Fire and Emergency Services. I brought up another story. I happened to go downstairs a little while ago, and I seen CO monitor laying on the counter with upside down pulled off of the mount, and I happened to ask my son, why is this sitting here? And he says, making this strange beeping noise. And I got tired of it.
Yeah.
So
Kind of
don't get
sounds
tired
like an
of
alarm
it.
and
Check
really
it
annoyed
out.
me, so I just unplugged it. Yeah.
Check it
get
out
that a lot,
whether
too.
the batteries need to be changed or the like. We appreciate what you guys do, and thanks for getting the word out. And by all means, we'll continue to support your efforts in making sure our community's safe.
Thank you. We appreciate your support. And if anybody needs help with their smoke detectors, just call 352-1475 and we will get somebody over to help you.
Great. Thanks, Kelly.
Absolutely.
Those are great efforts, and something that's very important, especially to those school-age kids who might be the only avenue to waking up the adults in the house if they understand what that sound means. So glad to see that continuing. The next item we have on our agenda is Domestic Violence Awareness Month Proclamation. From the city of Rock Springs, we have Domestic Violence Awareness Month coming up. We have Melinda here with us today somewhere. There she is. Tell us, Melinda, what's going on.
Well, I first almost wanted to say with the fire protection and such, I would have loved to have called that number when at 1 a.m. my detector stopped working and began shrieking through the whole night. So that was a fun moment. I now know if the unit is dying, it will shriek. But anyway, Domestic Violence Awareness Month is every October. So we always like to come and talk about this and get as many chances as we can to present to the community, because this is a problem that is ongoing. It has been going on and certainly been visibly celebrated since as early as the 90s. This is a thing that has been part of the communities of America forever. But unfortunately, it continues, and we want to do as much as we can. And the best thing you can do is awareness and understanding of what domestic violence is, what it looks like, and how you can prevent it. Because our goal is not to have to result to just the women in our silhouettes, which is our Silent Witness project. You might see those around town. Those are the red silhouettes. Those are victims who have died from domestic violence. And rather than see more victims, we want to do much more prevention. We want to see more efforts to stop this. And so proclamations like this, our lights on do or drive, our signs, you can buy to rent our signs, the Stand Against Domestic Violence signs that we can put in your yard. We have the bracelets that we wear that I unfortunately neglected to bring you, and I am sorry about that. But all these are prevention efforts. All these are awareness, because the last thing we want to do is not only for a victim to not know where the services are or what they can do, but we want you as community members to know how to support them. Because one of the things everyone likes to say when they look at a victim of domestic violence is, well, she could just leave. And I'm like, well, it's not that simple. Sure, you can start that, but think of it this way. If I asked every one of you to get in a van with me, we're going to leave, I'm going to take you to another town, and whatever you have in your pocket with you, maybe you get your purse. So Jeannie might have a little advantage. She gets to carry a little bit more, but you carry that and that's all you get. And now you have to start all over with whatever you happen to have with you. That's how rough it can be to start over when you're asking someone to do this. There are so many steps you have to do. And so ideally, anything we can do to offer prevention can help with this. I mean, this is something that definitely happens in Sweetwater County. Last year alone, we had 427 clients come through our domestic violence program. And we did over 205 protection orders. That gives you an idea how many. And if you think of our shelter stays, this is each person, either mother, child, husband, wife, all those spaces. We take men or women into our shelter. We take pets into our shelter. We had 2,500 days, people and days in that shelter that we covered in just our community here. This is a problem that we see everywhere. And so we want to do as much as we can to put the prevention word out there. One of the big things we're doing this month is on October 20th, we're doing our Remembrance and Vigil. And this is not only a chance to remember those who lost their lives to domestic violence, but also to talk about ideas of how to do prevention, how to do recovery. We have a law enforcement member coming to talk. We have a counselor coming to talk. And we have an advocate that works specifically with finding ways for men to take a role in preventing domestic violence. So I really encourage everyone to come. It's at Western Wyoming Community College on October 20th, and that is 6 p.m. So if you forget any of the details I've told you, one, it's in the proclamation, and two, you can definitely find it on our Facebook page or by contacting the YWCA. So I do appreciate your giving me a chance to come here and speak, and for giving us a proclamation, for putting this word out there. So I thank you for that. I don't know if anybody had questions.
Counselors?
The 427 clients, was that up from previous years? The reason I asked that is COVID.
COVID did things differently. It was very strange because during 2020, the very first month, our calls went through the roof, doubled up. But then it sort of tapered and it became back to normal. But 400 is about average for us, and it really didn't increase, though we will say we have seen a dramatic increase this year with our shelter stays. Part of it is once the weather gets warmer, it's a Wyoming thing. You start to do more when you can get out. More people have decided, that's it, I'm done, and I'm out of this relationship, and I'm leaving it. So our shelter has been pretty much full up until last month. And that takes, we can fit about 25 people between adults and kids, depends on how it goes, any one time, and it was full pretty much constantly since January. So,
Melinda, what happens if you are maxed out and you have additional requests? Where do those people go?
we are lucky in that we have a couple hotels in town that have been really good to work with us, and we put people in hotels to stay for, we've done them for a week at a time. Sometimes it works because not everyone's ready for group living, which is another factor of if you're going to leave and suddenly you're going to be in a situation where you're sharing a house with 6 other families. And that's a little unnerving sometimes for people, particularly if you've not been in a lot of interactions, you've been pretty isolated. And so we often offer the hotels for that, or is just, we are full. And we did that multiple times. We paid, I think we had $500 in hotel bills in 1 month, just trying to cover overflow until somebody moved out and somebody got in and we got onto a bus to go to another community. Lots of juggling.
Yeah. Any other questions, councilors? Well, we have a proclamation from the city of Rock Springs, which reads, whereas YWCA of Sweetwater County recognizes and participates in a public awareness campaign to support National Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And Domestic Violence Awareness Month provides an excellent opportunity for citizens to learn more about preventing domestic violence and to show support for the organizations and individuals who provide critical advocacy, services, and assistance to victims. And on average, nearly 20 people per minute are physically abused by an intimate partner in the United States. During 1 year, this equates to more than 10 million women and men. And domestic violence can take the form of physical, emotional, sexual, psychological, and economic abuse. 1 in 3 women and 1 in 4 women in the United States have experienced some form of physical violence by an intimate partner. And too often, the victims of domestic violence are children who can have lifelong repercussions from the emotional or physical trauma of being exposed to domestic violence. And domestic violence survivors and their advocates in Sweetwater County have rallied to the cause of victim justice. And the government and citizens of Rock Springs, Wyoming fully recognize the need to treat victims with dignity and compassion. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Timothy A. Como, Mayor of the City of Rock Springs, do hereby declare the month of October 2022 to be Domestic Violence Awareness Month in the City of Rock Springs, and I call upon our citizens to stand together against domestic violence, offer support and understanding to survivors, and participate in domestic violence awareness activities. Purple bracelets will be available throughout the community to show your support. Please join us for the Silent Witness Memorial and Candlelight Vigil on October 20th from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. at Western Wyoming Community College in Rock Springs. We appreciate once again you coming before us and making sure that you bring attention to domestic violence and that we all take the time to maybe participate in the vigil. I think it's a good opportunity to get up there and just see how many people in our community are affected and the families and the caretakers and all that it touches.
Right.
So thank you so much.
And I was going to add, I had forgotten, there was a clothesline project that is also at the mall. If you cannot make the vigil, that's a good one. It is T-shirts made by victims and survivors, and it tells their story in their own words. And this was all possible because of Memorial Hospital and Simplot, who helped us pay for all the projects. So, and anyone else is welcome to come. I drafted Lena to come stand with us because we've been supporting each other with breast cancer awareness and domestic violence awareness.
Proclamation. And we also have breast cancer awareness, and we did a proclamation down at the bottom of the viaduct just yesterday evening. And we sure appreciate all those support groups in Memorial Hospital of Sweetwater County for all they do to help us bring awareness to all these critical issues that affect each and every one of us, our families, our friends, and continue your good work. Okay, next under presentations and proclamations, Council, we have Monty Burton with Halcyon Energy, Inc. is here to provide us with the presentation on the green lithium project that they're working on. Monty, I'm going to turn it over to you. Let us know what the project consists of, what your requests are, and we'll take some Q&A.
Thank you, Mayor. I first want to start off with a few appreciations for this. In the very beginning, we had no intention, literally I had no idea about lithium to begin with at all. But we have a partnership with the University of Wyoming. They're actually partnered with us in developing high temperature hydrogen production through patented technology that we're working on with the University of Wyoming, in which prior to that, I was 100% oil and gas. COVID changed everything known to man, which it changed us as well. The Department of Energy come to us and said, look, we want you to look at producing hydrogen. And we have a technology that we feel that was a very effective technology that will work really well. The only problem is that it will work the best in Honduras. And if we try to go through, even as the United States government, to go through the government of Honduras, it could take many years. But we know that y'all have my wife's family has a very large swath of land down there in the Sula Valley. And so it is the premier location on earth for this. In the process of that, we were able to meet with the University of Wyoming through Miss Caitlin Long, who is a advocate for blockchain and so on and so forth. And in the meantime, we met with Senator Ogden Driscoll, there in the Capitol, where I was asked to speak before the Senate and what we were doing, because basically every single law that had been passed over the last couple of years made it possible for us to be able to come to Wyoming and do what we're doing. Senator Driscoll said, look, we've got a very important project. He said that we've been trying to get off the ground for many years. He said it is of national security interest. And he said it is in Rock Springs, Wyoming, and it has to do with lithium production. He said for many years, the university, SCR department, so on and so forth, have looked at this, but because of the cost of electricity and so on and so forth, it's made it unpractical. But talking with SCR, since he's the guy that oversees the SCR department there, Senator Ogden Driscoll said your technology would be perfect in being able to extract this lithium. So we got more into it. We talked with Ms. Holly Cruchter, who's the head of the department there at SCR. And so we got more involved in it, looked at it, and sure enough, we can do this. And up until this time and the time before last, I have not been to Rock Springs, Wyoming since 1999. I was working for an engineering firm out of Houston. They were overseeing the engineering development and project management of a pipeline project that was going through here. So anyway, I'm back here. Also want to thank Mayor Cuomo for his interest in visiting with us and talking to us about this, and also Mr. Chad Banks, Representative Banks, as well. So I'm very grateful to have this opportunity because, just like getting into hydrogen, I did not know that much about the Paris Climate Agreement. I did not know much about a lot of things dealing with European nations and so on and so forth. But literally, hydrogen, we were told that if the election doesn't go the way that we think it's going to go, every LNG facility in the United States can lose billions of dollars and cost millions of jobs across the world. So we would like for your participation in this. So we got involved in it. And now, as y'all may all know, the Chinese Communist Party owns 98% of the lithium in the world. And literally, speaking with Senator Tim Scott, who I spoke with today about this, and literally right now, if the Chinese Communist Party wanted to take over the United States, all they simply have to do is quit selling us lithium, period. Within less than 1 year, all of our airplanes in the Air Force would be completely shut down, completely. The largest part of our economy would be shut down. So therefore, we are literally under their thumb. But luckily, through this right here, Rock Springs sits on one of the largest lithium deposits in the world. And so that's my basis for being here, my basis for coming back to Wyoming after 20 plus years. And so I want to go through this presentation with you guys. It's a little bit lengthy, and so I will pause between each page to allow for any questions from anyone to ask. So we'll get started. I'll go down here. I also want to say thank you to the gentleman. I brought my own laptop. For the first time, I had to check my bag in. I usually carry it on the plane, but the plane was too crowded, so they didn't run out of space overhead. So I allowed them to check it, and I got my bag. I pulled my laptop out of it, and I was literally holding it in two different pieces in each of my hands. And United said, "Don't worry about it. Just fill out the paperwork. We'll take care of it." And I was like, so thank God for this. So, but anyway, the creation of an economic development zone in the city of Rock Springs in Sweetwater County is utilizing our company's past experience in developing and manufacturing centers within the opportunity zones. Halcyon is proposed to create such a center in Rock Springs, structured upon a proposal to develop large capital projects associated with investments in investments into the arena. To achieve this goal and funding for the purpose, Halcyon plans to use funding available through the Opportunity Zone program. The Opportunity Zone program was created by the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act of 2017. The principal purpose of this act was for the funds to be used to create jobs in zones in order to lift areas of economies. Those rules changed by the administration in July 2020, now requiring qualified funds to only be invested in projects that provide at least 10 permanent jobs. Halcyon Manufacturing Campus's model for the Opportunity Zone is the only model in the U.S. that is designed to meet, in fact, far exceed the unemployment threshold. The model taken from Halcyon affiliated companies in Honduras, the Catan Group, funds manufacturing centers to attract companies to the area and will employ thousands. And what I want to do also is not only ask questions, but I want to highlight a little bit about this. In 2017, I was asked by the Trump administration to attend a meeting in Biloxi, Mississippi. The governor of Mississippi at that time, actually, I was doing some things with him consulting-wise, and he asked me to attend this. At that conference, I had to literally, the governor said, sign this NDA, and I was like, do I get to read it? And he said, no, sign it. So I signed it, and in that meeting, there was about 60 people in there, and President Trump came on the jumbo screen and announced that the Federal Opportunity Zone, the Trump Opportunity Zone program had been created. I was tapped to be able to participate in that because Aiken and Gump Law Firm out of New York and also in Dallas, we jointly created the world's first hybrid private equity fund back in 2008, which I'm 50% owner in the patent. That program makes up about 50% of the Opportunity Zone program that is now law, federal law. The concept that's being used right here was developed by myself, and I used around the world in the processes because I've done a lot in international project development, working with foreign governments, companies, and so on and so forth. And this whole process of what is now our process is basically was created out of that. So before I go to the next, I'll ask, does anyone have any questions? No? Okay, thank you. The Catan Group of Honduras, Halcyon has partnered with the Catan Group of Honduras for development of manufacturing centers and opportunity zones. The Catan Group has been in business for over 100 years and has significant investments in the U.S. as well as throughout Central and South America, manufacturing in all descriptions, including heavy fabrics, power generation, textiles, timber, real estate, and EPC contracting. The Catan has millions of square feet of manufacturing undercover, their last client being this year Nike for the production of apparel. Mr. Mauricio Catan is a member of the Halcyon team and brings with him the concept of manufacturing campuses that Halcyon follows in the Ozine development. The Catan family is related to me. I married my wife, who's related to them, in 2014. They have an international business, and I did borrow from their concept where they have a free trade zone. And the free trade zone, whoever comes in to operate in that free trade zone basically operates with a tax-free way of doing business so that it creates jobs. And so with that, they've invited companies from all over the world that are there. There's over 5,000 different companies from around the world that are there. And through the state of Mississippi, I helped create what was called the Sister Cities Agreement for international projects and coalitions. Their model we use, except one thing that we've done is we've taken it a step further, and we have applied so that it's all green. It's 100% smart city, because some places throughout the world that I've been in, Cameroon, Africa, Ghana, Africa, so on and so forth, if you're going to create something like this, you better be prepared to be able to provide everything that is needed, because there's nothing there to support it. Any questions?
None so far, Monty.
Okay. Halcyon Opportunity Zone Project Model. Halcyon entered into a public-private partnership with the city of Port Gibson. They were literally the very first group. When the Opportunity Zone program was first created, there was 2 opportunity zones. Now there's 10,000. At that time, there was two. One was in New York, which y'all have heard of that because Ocasio-Cortez made sure it didn't happen. Number two was in Port Gibson, Mississippi, and it was strategically picked out due to it is the poorest county in the United States and has been for over 40 years. The total monthly average income in the entire county is $700 a month. So that gives you a kind of an idea. And then the municipality of Fajardo, Puerto Rico, to bring local governments into the overall development stage and permit them to share in future revenues created by the business development of qualified opportunity investments into the area. We were also asked to participate in Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico, as you know, is a territory, but it's a very highly corrupt island, extremely corrupt. And y'all may remember along that time in 2017, 2018, there was a lot of question what happened to billions of dollars and why their power and electrical infrastructure was, in shambles. Also, too, there was a lot of discussion back and forth that y'all may have seen, unfortunately, between the governor there and President Trump. And so as this was developing, he not only said all Native American lands are opportunity zones because he gave the right to every single governor of the state to select those opportunity zones, but he also said every territory that is a U.S. territory is now a 100% opportunity zone. So we went into Fajardo, Puerto Rico, put this whole thing together as well. An opportunity zone is made up of a public-private partnership that is between the city, the county, and us. It's made up of a board of directors comprising members of Halcyon, the city council, that have oversight and development of the Halcyon development team, comprising of legal, architectural, engineering, marketing, financial, and project management, and personnel leading the effort. Project development within the zone is phased based on priorities, beginning with an overall development master plan of specific property that will be designated for the development. Early funding is required to develop any project to a detail necessary to prove commercial financial viability, including a return to investors in order to access opportunity zone funding. The beautiful part about this area right here as well is literally there's new laws that have been passed or have been brought into the Opportunity Zone program this week. Al Puhala, who is an advisor right now to the Biden administration, he was one of the leading experts in the world in international taxation. Al was asked by the Trump administration to help with the understanding of how the tax situation would work, because the IRS, when the Opportunity Zone program was passed, it was nothing more than a 13-page white paper, period. It had no rules, no regulations around it or nothing. Trump literally stuck it into the Trump tax plan, passed it into law, and said, we gotta read it before we can understand what we're gonna do with it. And I'm not going to say who he borrowed that term from, but y'all all know who. So, but either way, we worked for a solid 2 years in putting together the regulations that the IRS uses, HUD uses, all the way down the line. But the problem with the Opportunity Zone is that there's zones that were created that should have never been created, like the one that's right dead in the center of Manhattan. There is no economically distressed area in Manhattan. There was also areas that no one could figure out why we're using this. Just as Mayor Cuomo commented about some of the areas that are currently an opportunity zone here. So what's been done is that they're now going to expand the opportunity zone programs, having the opportunity over here in Sweetwater County, over here where the airport, the railroad, and the 10,000 acres that are there that Mr. Devin Brubeck, I don't know if he's here, who actually showed me this area last we're here, talking with Al today, also knowing that Cory Booker and also the Senator Barrasso, who's very involved in it. The governor is very involved, and Senator Driscoll. We will work with the city here and the county to turn that into a designated opportunity zone. We know how to do it. We've been involved in it since day one. And so that was news that I got literally driving from Laramie here this morning. So I wanted to talk about that because I know that was some of the things that the mayor and I spoke about and so on and so forth. We will utilize this the current opportunity zone that's here. We will use that, but we will be able to also expand the opportunity zone over into the Sweetwater County and develop all of that. Questions?
Monty, just to elaborate, first off, we had a discussion a while back about opportunity zones, and I'm not quite sure who designated the opportunity zone in Sweetwater County of being just on the west side of the city of Rock Springs in a long, thin, narrow pathway directly over high pressure transmission gas lines. It seems like once again we got left out of that discussion of where opportunity zones should be placed. Therefore, what makes you so confident that you would be able to change that opportunity zone to the east side of the city and maybe encompass the airport? And what is that process?
Well, the original how opportunity zones, they were all census tracts that were looked at for low-income areas, high unemployment areas, so on and so forth. Then the President Trump said, okay, let's give this to California. Let's see how they're going to do it. And so after they changed it, molded it, and shaped it, they said, okay, every governor he's going to have the right to be able to pick his own opportunity zones. And so that was passed to the economic development groups with each state. And how it happened after that, literally there's zones that I scratch my head every time I look at them. I'm like you. I'm like, how? Why?
That's where I just think it's bizarre because I know our economic development group, and had they had the opportunity to take a look at something and say where would be your opportunity zone where you could bring in business and participate in maybe funding mechanisms and the like and locate new businesses, it would not have been where ours shows. So that's just bizarre to me.
It believe me, no one can figure it out either, to be honest with you. And so, but the thing is that's why some of this is being changed. Right now, there's $7 trillion that's available through capital gain. Investors who've had a capital gain realize they have the opportunity to be able to either say, okay, I'm going to pay taxes on that capital gains, or they select an IRS form and they check off the box that I want to enter in this money into a federal opportunity zone program. For 6 months, they have the opportunity. The investor literally has to be involved where his money goes. Now, the IRS tracks it all the way. They have to set up an LLC. They have to put it in a bank account. The IRS is aware of it, the whole 9 yards. But the problem that has been is that almost all of the opportunity zones have been real estate developments, housing, apartments, so on and so forth. It never really creates very many jobs. It creates jobs in the beginning of the construction phase, but after that, what do you got? Apartment manager, maintenance guy, so on and so forth. So they changed it. And they said it's got to create at least 10 jobs. Okay, it's got to create at least 10 jobs. We would like to see it in clean energy. We would like to be able to, because there's already the state of Wyoming has $4 billion right now given to it by the U.S. government in the Inflation Reduction Act. That has been given to the state. So there's lots of monies. Also on top of that too, in this new added language that's going to the opportunity zone, I found out today, they're also going to award each opportunity zone and the group going into that, project development group, up to $10 million to be able to initially kick that project off. Because in the beginning, the seed money, as you'd say, or the startup money, it was really hard to get a hold of. It was really, really tough to be able to get a hold of. Now that's changed. And two, from what I understand, what was told to me today is that there's, if you look at the Opportunity Zone map, and you can go online to the Cap Zone USA Opportunity Zone map online and look at it, pull up Wyoming, and it will make you scratch your head, okay? It'll make you scratch your head. So they're really going to dive into it a lot deeper because there's $7 trillion there. And literally, they are extending the Opportunity Zone program. It was supposed to end in 2026. Literally, today I was told they're extending it to 2046. And the reason why is there's $7 trillion. And so it's got to find a home. For a long time, the investors they'd have 6 months to be able to find a place to put their home. So they created, and groups went out and created these opportunity zone equity funds, basically. And so they would put their money in there, and then it was good for another 18 months. And then the money could then be moved around to another fund and get another 18 months, deferring their taxes. That's what's not what it's created for. Go ahead, ma'am. So yes, sir.
We do have Counselor Patolo has a question.
What are the steps of establishing an opportunity zone? Is there a step-by-step process?
Well, the opportunity zones right now are already established. Okay, there's right at 10. There's 9,899, 10,000 zones throughout the United States. Okay, those are all 100% designated by the governor of your state. The governor, he was the one that was in charge of saying, okay, these are going to be my opportunity zones. Now, in the past, you could go through the process with the governor because he had full discretion of being able to say, okay, I can expand your opportunity zone. That's what we're talking about doing here, expanding it. But to access that money is that your question? How to access that money?
Well, for my feeble little mind, I'm going from, okay, we got this lithium out here, and we need to establish an opportunity zone.
You already have one. You have one that's just right down the street here, literally. And it's there.
Have to be where the lithium is?
No, what has to happen is where the greatest amount of jobs and production are being done, it needs to be in that opportunity zone. If we've got to put more wells out here, we got to put our CSP units out here, we got to put all of that out there, but we will bring back the energy and the water and everything from there to this old Schlumberger, Halliburton yard, I forget which one it is. We will bring it there, and there's where we will generate the power, which will create about a 450 megawatt power plant there. That's the other reason why no one has done it, because y'all are 1,500 megawatts deficient right now in the state of Wyoming. We can create our own electricity for less than 1 cent a kilowatt, literally. So we can make it feasible, but everything will be done here. But the monies that are needed to go over there for the wells and so on and so forth, since it's connected to the opportunity zone, we'll be able to utilize those dollars, 100% of those dollars for that area.
Oh, that's what my question was. Does that eliminate you from being able to use those dollars where you may be outside of the opportunity zone?
As long as you're using it for, say, the extraction of the water, because the lithium is in the water. So we got to pull out the water. How do we get the water? We got to drill more wells. We got to put pumps. We got to put pipelines. We got to do all these things to be able to do it. So to get that water, to get all that back to this here, where the manufacturing and everything can occur, or the extraction of the lithium from the water, it will be done here. So the dollars that are needed to be able to put out here are available.
What about the permitting, Monty? Drilling wells, extracting the lithium and the like. Some of that's on already leased ground. The permitting takes time. Is that something that's already in the works?
That is already in the works, but the process, the good thing about the opportunity zone, I'm not from Rock Springs, and I know a year's worth of knowledge of Wyoming. But I do know that by working with counties, with city governments like yourselves, and partnering with them, we can make the streamlining of the permitting a little bit quicker and faster and easier due to the simple fact is that y'all know who to go to. And on top of that, too, the state legislature and the governor is 100% behind this. So there's going to be a lot of support. I don't think we'll have a lot of problems with permitting. We haven't had problems with permitting before. Especially, I think, due to that this project is of national security interest. I don't foresee there's going to be a process, there's going to be time, but I don't see it being a huge amount of time, because literally right now we are under the gun, literally. I mean, if China doesn't have to, they don't have to fire a missile to take us over. They don't have to send an amphibious unit in here to be able to make this into China. All they got to do is make the decision, okay, we want to make the United States, instead of the largest buyer that we have, we want to make the United States a part of us. And they can. And there's not really a whole lot we can do about it, because if you don't have a way to fight, what do you have? Nothing. So I don't foresee I know we got to deal with BLM. I know we got to deal with all these different agencies and so on and so forth. But given the nature of where we're at, I don't see that being much of a problem. I see a lot of the red tape being pushed through. I see a lot of the issues and problems that are normally there are going to be there. I mean, the toughest state in the United States to do any kind of permitting period in the United States is California. All right. We're being begged by California right now because they have a lithium extract place up in Northern California. We're being begged. Gavin Newsom said, look, whatever red tape is, I will make sure it's signed and it's gone. And don't worry about taxes. It won't even affect you for the next 10 years. We need y'all here. So I don't see it being a problem. I really don't. But the thing is that, you know, what's good about this is that we're perfect timing of high interest by the United States government. Also, too, lithium is needed by the world. You know, we've already had a lot of groups talk to us that we'll have no problems in getting very long-term offtake agreements with the federal government. I've even had Elon Musk contact me and said he'll buy all of it. He offered to buy my whole company, and so you know, because he needs lithium as bad as anybody. So I don't see it being a problem. I see it as a perfect storm right now, to be honest with you, because of the need of the lithium, the changing of the opportunity zones, the things that you are wanting to be able to do here and expanding your opportunity zone, creating this industrial hub. There should be absolutely no money that has to come out of the pocket of anybody here in the state of Wyoming or the city of Rock Springs, because there's trillions of dollars that are available, especially if you tag it with green energy. You literally don't have to do anything but build it. They'll come. As it was told to me today by Al Puhala, Monty, you're in a space right now, a business, where it's not you're going to have to look for money. It's that you're going to decide how much money you want of it. He says, literally where you're at. He said, so also, too, I'm having Al, he's going to put together an entire memorandum I'm going to send out to the mayor and so everyone here can see it, but of how this process is working and it's a bipartisan effort. It's not no Democrat, Republican. It's truly, Trump, you know, I don't know how people feel, like, love him or hate him, but it was a genius idea of what he created with the Opportunity Zone program. There was a gentleman at Trump Tower who was formerly of the founder of Snapchat, and he paid $5 million a year. He bought a home there in Trump Tower, and he wanted to be able to end poverty around the world. So he hired a Republican economist, a Democrat economist, and funded it $5 million a year. They come up with this. He handed it to Trump in the elevator. Trump read it and said, I'm going to do it. And he did it. And it's phenomenal because there's not a Democrat or Republican in the world that will campaign against it, because it's directly to their constituents. The Opportunity Zone program in Port Gibson, Mississippi is 98% African American, 98% Democrat, and has one of the lowest incomes in the United States. And, you know, when they were talking about stripping this and doing that in the very beginning, you know, I never in my life thought I would be invited to a march with Al Sharpton, but I was. So anyway, but that's the magnitude of it. And so we'll go on to the next.
I have one question, Monty.
Yes, sir.
Why, explain the partnership with the city of Rock Springs and Halcyon. Why, if it's so lucrative, there's no scratch in the game from the city of Rock Springs whatsoever? Why even ask the city of Rock Springs to be a partner in?
Well, for simple one reason. As I said earlier, I've done projects all over the world. And one thing I learned in doing projects in Europe and Asia and Africa and all of that is that your biggest obstacle that you possibly had in doing any project there, no matter how much it would help the government, how much it helped the people, no matter how much, is politicians. Politicians were your number one enemy. And so how I developed my program for this, when I was doing everything with USXM Bank and OPIC, Overseas Private Investment Corporation, and so on and so forth, I thought, here's the best way to be able to do it. If I go in and I partner with that locality, city, whatever it may be, and I say, okay, we're going to partner with this and we're going to use these dollars and to be able to come in, to be able to create the things that this city needs more than anything else, whether it's food banks, whether it's helping with the YMCA or the fire department, or whatever it is, then it's there. And then I created a model that, through developing of orphanages, especially in food banks that I did in Africa, because you have a lot of really people who are really hungry for an opportunity, but there's no opportunity there. So we help create schools, we help create churches to create a foundation, of a solid society that it can bring. We also created ways of being able to bring in medical care, all of those necessities. And what that did, when I would get a politician, especially in some place in Africa or Latin America or whatever, and say, I need some money under the table, I would simply say, well, let's go ask everyone and see what they think about it, because they're our partners. No, we don't want to do that, because that's the very people that vote for them. So we took that model and that we adopted that into the Opportunity Zone program. So I'm able to come in, because I always ask the question, we can do this for any country in the world, but why can't we do this in our own country, our own people? There's cities and counties and states that are here, counties that are here within the United States government that are just as poor as in Africa. I can take you to Port Gibson, Mississippi, and you will see kids at the school, or did see kids at the school, that didn't even know what a computer was. They Xerox copied a keyboard so the kids could learn how to type. They had one computer in the entire city and the county. They shared. So there's places that are that poor, that are that poor. So I always ask the question, why can't we spend billions of dollars every year all over the world, why can't we do that here? And so when the Opportunity Zone program was created, I already had the model. And I created a private equity fund with Aiken & Gump that would solely be able to help use these funds for putting together projects like this, with all the securities around it, because investors, well, you're in a third world country. Well, I have all the securities through USXM Bank, OPEC. You're not going to lose one single dollar. I give them a certificate from the U.S. Treasury as an insurance certificate on their investment. They were happy. So all we did is adopt that I did for 15 plus years around the world. We're doing it here. So the money is not needed from you guys. What is needed is y'all know Rock Springs. Y'all know the people to contact. Y'all know what's needed. I don't know what's needed here. I learned a little bit tonight, but other than that, I don't know. So how am I going to come in? I can develop the project. I can put it together. I can make things happen. But the rest of it, I can't, because I don't know. So to shorten that time frame, it's better to have a public-private partnership with the city, county, whichever it is y'all prefer. That way we can sit down and work on things together. And the dollars that come in, the profits that come in from the Opportunity Zone for the public-private partnership, do we need a new school? Do we need a hospital? Do we need a fire department? Literally, we've helped do those exact things, because I don't know what you need, but we can all sit down. And also, too, what's great is that you can look citizens in the eye, because I'm not from Rock Springs, but coming to a town, and I'm bringing industry. There's all kinds of negatives about coming in and creating something new. No matter how great it is, you're going to run into a negative, period.
Well, and I think questions will come. Let's get through the
Yes, sir.
the presentation, and I'm sure there'll be questions that come up as we go.
The Rock Springs Capital Project. Halcyon is proposing to finance and construct a large integrated capital project that will be partially installed in the Rock Springs Opportunity Zone, partially in a large designated area located to the east of the city. Each project component will be considered green, since all electricity will be generated by solar power and hydrogen produced by solar energy, complete with storage for continuous 24-hour-a-day operation. Three-stage integrated project will include lithium extraction from the Rock Springs uplift, a hybrid CSP PV gas turbine, 1,500 megawatt generation facility, and hydrogen production. A fourth project will construct and manufacture a center In the Opportunity Zone, we're house sell and construct and manufacturing facilities, warehouses for long-term lease to attract companies to the area. The one thing that I did not mention about the Catan Group, we have over 5,000 companies. There's companies all over the world right now wanting to be able to come into the United States. Rock Springs is perfect. You got the rail that runs from East Coast to West Coast. We'll have ability to be able to offer them low-cost electricity to power whatever operation it is. You'll be able to expand the municipality for water, fire department, so on and so forth, a tax revenue that will be created. So that's what this right here will do. And we've already talked to many companies from around the world about being interested in this because Wyoming is a great place to do business, unlike some of the other areas that are out there. So, and also with the opportunity to be able to use Opportunity Zone dollars, every company in the world outside the United States knows about the Opportunity Zone program.
Mayor, may I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
Sure, Rick, go ahead.
I'm sorry.
With respect to the Opportunity Zone, the question that I have, and maybe you're getting to it, but you talk about opportunity zones and how money derived from the operation of these opportunity zones relative to lithium can result in our ability to build new hospitals and so forth. Are you proposing that this partnership would result in considerably more revenue to the city than we would derive from severance taxes, which we would derive from the extraction of the minerals via the state? Are you saying that the company will come in and whatever profits you derive from that, a large portion of that will go directly to the city of Rock Springs and or to Sweetwater County? That's my question.
You're 100% correct with your question. Whatever the dollars are generated in the partnership, of the public-private partnership, it will be voted on by the board members of that Opportunity Zone public-private partnership, and we will set out together what it is that y'all want to spend the money on.
And I appreciate that, but what do you want from us? In other words, what is the consideration to your company for paying what would otherwise be considered a tremendous amount of extra taxes that you would not normally have to pay on the extraction of lithium? And why would you pay a government much more money than you would ever be required by law to do?
Because in a partnership, things have to be equal.
Well, that's true. And my question is, what does the city of Rock Springs, what do you get from the city of Rock Springs?
I get the ability of what y'all already know, y'all who to contact, who to be able to work with, streamline things. Because you can look at any project in the United, there's projects that have been taking years to just get off of the ground. Not because of funding, it's because of regulations, city government, so on and so forth. So we put it together so that y'all have just as much vested interest in seeing this project come to fruition as we do. And we make it even easier because we call it everything across the dock, okay? Since the rail's right here, the lithium is going to go into a rail car, okay? Making it easier for the city government to be able to deal with it, we say, okay, let's impose a tax on it. It's called a dock tax. Every dock in the world or port in the world has one, period. So you adopt that. So every time a ton or ounce of lithium goes in that container or any other product that's generated in the Opportunity Zone or in the economic area that we're going to create, you all will have a tax on that, okay? Which also allows you, like they did in Port Gibson, Mississippi, they were able to reduce the taxes on the citizens because they had a greater revenue coming in from what they were doing. So the reason why we want to partner with you guys is because we want to streamline the process. We want partners because, you know, I love Rock Springs, but I probably could never get my wife to live in Rock Springs. So I've got to stay in Houston. So I got to go back and forth. So we need y'all's partnership. This is your city. This is your county. This is your state. And we want to be partnered with you guys so that we don't run into normally what you run into in developing a project. And that's, you know, for example, we looked at doing something with the city of Houston, Texas, okay? Their budget's enormous, all right? But since there was just so much back and forth and red tape with it and everything else, we moved it across the channel to Chambers County. Smaller.
But that being said, whether it was the city or the county, even the state, we would still have to abide by all those permitting needs and
Oh
regulations.
yes,
that are-
there's no doubt about it. We have to abide by everything. We don't get to change anything, but y'all deal with the state every day. Y'all know who to call. I mean, I ain't met Chad as of yet. I had a video conference call with him, Senator Driscoll. Now I've talked to him a lot, and so I know he's fully 100% committed to Rock Springs and to this project, 100%. So, but those are the only two people I know. I've met Governor Gordon once. Outside of that, that's it. So, I know as long as you've been here, Mr. Cuomo, and I know the others, y'all are bound to have a lot more knowledge of people here in the state of Wyoming than I do, and our company does. And so, and two, if you're a local, I don't care what state you're in, it always seems to go a little bit better than somebody coming in from another state.
Well, I guess that's the biggest concern probably some of us do have is if it looks too good to be true, it probably is. So we're just trying to wrap our hands around.
Sure.
Because I believe you'd mentioned a 60-40 split of revenues at that time. A board would be created, which would consist of individuals from the city, the county, maybe the state, Halcyon, and then that board would basically manage that business and decide on where these funds would be.
It's a standard LLC with an operating agreement that we negotiate how we want to be able to run the business, just like any other businesses ran. I mentioned the 60-40 that we've done in the past with Port Gibson, Fajardo, because we bared all the risk with the LNG. Those were LNG projects. We bared all the risk. We bared all the money. We kept the city completely, out of any liabilities of any kind. We accepted everything, and so it was 60-40, and that's how we did it there. And then Fajardo, they liked that ideal as well because they didn't want to have any liabilities, any debts, or anything, and so we did it. We don't have a problem with that because we're very used to it. And so, but one thing we don't have is that we're not from Rock Springs, so that's basically how it's done. Most of the boards that have been created, it's been 2 members of Halcyon, 2 members of the city, and then we decided to select a person that was involved with the state or other industries, and so that's how we did it, and it worked real well.
And then could you remind us what communities do you have a successful partnership? Did you
We have a
say?
successful partnership with Port Gibson, Mississippi, and Fajardo, Puerto Rico. Now, we're not able to complete the project as of yet in Port Gibson due to I know what's happened with LNG. It went to nothing. And now, because we were focused solely on domestic LNG, y'all know full well how natural gas and oil is being treated right now domestically. So those projects, they're still a go. The contracts are still there. Everything is there. But, we've looked at doing some green projects in both locations. We cannot produce hydrogen because the distance from the sun, the further north you get, the greater distance from the equator, where the greatest amount of sunlight is. Here in Wyoming, here in Rock Springs, it's not the greatest, but it's enough that it will give us the amount, because we're not producing hydrogen here. We're producing hydrogen to produce electricity to extract lithium. So it's a little bit different. Port Gibson, we're looking at bringing in a system to be able to help take trash, to be able to create syngas, to be able to help the syngas to turn into hydrogen and biojet fuel, which the city of New Orleans and Louis Armstrong Airport are very interested in acquiring that jet fuel. Fajardo, Puerto Rico has gone through a little bit different situation. The 30-plus year mayor of Fajardo passed away, And so right now they're it's kind of in a just read you can read about it. It's a political mess. so
Your Honor.
we're waiting for
Councilman
that
Robinson?
to clear.
Yeah, so as you're speaking, I'm doing a little bit of research on as well as I can, in just a few minutes. And as you were speaking prior to bringing up Port Gibson, I saw the post that was made in December of 2019 where you claimed that you were going to bring 25,000 jobs to the community for this natural gas facility. Now you're telling me that, or telling us that hasn't really gone off the ground yet. And whenever I type in for a link for HESCO, nothing really comes up for it. So
You'll look under www.halcyonenergy.tech. HESCO was the original name, but when we got into the clean energy arena, we had to change the name to Halcyon Energy Solutions Company. HESCO was a company that I bought in 2015. It was a 32-year-old midstream pipeline operating company. It was Houston Energy Service Company, and everyone that was involved in clean energy, as the founder of Nike told me, he would love to invest in the company, but the word Houston reminds him every day of the city that's destroying Mother Nature. So in the beginning, clean energy is nothing like it is now in some parts, but so that's why you don't see anything about HESCO. It's been taken down.
yeah, that's kind of unfortunate. As I'm reading through this, it sounds like almost the exact same spiel that you gave to Port Gibson
Yes, sir.
several years ago. So as the mayor asked, what do you have? And also going through LinkedIn and stuff, looks like you open up a new business about every 3 or 4 years with a new name. What do you have going on right now that is successful and operating?
Halcyon Energy is successful. The only other company that I've had was a private equity fund that I sold in 2011. I've had some other entities. I got a lot of entities that I've set up to do different things in. My wife has an Amazon company, so on and so forth. But the only reason the Port Gibson project has not got off the ground is simply purely because of the right now there's no power plant in the United States that's wanted to sign a long-term contract for LNG. They're wanting hydrogen.
I've got questions. I think probably moving ahead here a little on your presentation, but as I was reading, there was a study done that shows there was 18 million tons of lithium in the uplift. The results of that study, though, were that it was so deep and such a low concentrate that it was not economically feasible. I mean, you can go in other places in the world and mine lithium. It's just below the surface, and it's a lot higher concentration levels. Is this concept proven for lithium that it would work? Has it been tested? Do you know? I mean, go from in like 7 years' time to go from it's just economically unfeasible to get to now we're saying yes, we can do that. How?
Well, I'm not an engineer, so I'll repeat verbatim of what Holly Krukta has commented about this. That when it was first looked at was, yes, it is very deep wells, below 10,000 feet. The process of extracting it was hard. Two, the consumption of power is enormous. It really is. So that made it very much unfeasible. And the studies, and I think they have been shared with you, Mr. Cuomo, the studies that are from the University of Wyoming shows that there's a high level of lithium there now. And so why the different studies are, I don't have no idea. I mean, you're more than welcome. I mean, I can set up a time for y'all to be able to speak directly to Holly and the engineering department at UW. Like I said, I knew batteries had lithium in them, and other than that, until now, I didn't know much about it. All I know is that there's enough there to be able to produce, 30 million tons a year of lithium. That's what their studies have shown, the University of Wyoming studies.
Okay. Great. And then it looks like, there's other parts on here where the lithium, and then you're looking at the concentrated solar power with the mirrors focusing on a tower.
Right.
So you're going to need eventually approval of the public for construction of those if zoning issues and that come up. as well? Is that, do you see
Well,
that as
the
being
area that we're looking at is to the north of the highway out here where the wells are currently at. There's absolutely nothing out there. And so now concentrated solar power is totally different than solar power due to the land underneath it is unharmed. Solar energy absorbs heat, which basically destroys anything underneath it. Where concentrated solar power is nothing more than really mirrors, reflecting the sun in one direction. And they're usually around 14 feet off of the ground. So any livestock, any of those things whatsoever are still free to roam, still provide shade, blah, 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 this and that. But other than that, there's really no restrictions to it. And then two, and this is one thing Steve Lupian with the university was trying to get him here tonight. There is a thing that this particular grass that y'all have here in Wyoming, where there's huge tax credits right now that are available for it, that blended with green energy, they're able to get additional to the farmers here as well. And so they're also taking that, the University of Wyoming and the state of Wyoming, and they're putting this into an ESG token so that it can be sold on the market worldwide for ESG tax credits. And so being able to blend concentrated solar power, which is green energy, into that program and into that mix gives the landowners the opportunity to be able to cash in on that.
The other question I have real quick is, you've listed the people you've talked to through here. Have you been in touch with our economic development, Sweetwater Economic Development?
Yes,
Coalition?
I have met with Mr. Derek.
Rick Bingham? He's
What's his last name?
here now.
Eric
Bingham.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Him and then the one other lady I've talked to. Now I just spoke to her day before yesterday, but I haven't really spoke to them a lot. I mean, I was just made aware of that I really need to focus on talking with them.
Okay.
And,
Monty, this is Eric Bingham, and this is Kayla, and
yeah.
I don't,
Derek, his name is Derek. You put me in touch with him. He gave me a ride around that day.
Eric.
You rode with Devin.
Well,
from
Devin's
the airport.
the airport.
Devin's the airport.
Airport. I'm sorry. Okay.
But these folks haven't spoke to you as of yet.
Yes, on Friday. Yes, ma'am. Yeah, I haven't spoken. I get the names messed up because I've just got introduced to to
that's
the
a
names.
group that I think.
But I did ride around his town and out there with Devin. I believe that's he's the guy who's the head of the airport.
Yeah.
And they're ones that have worked a lot on that eastern part of town and the property and help with getting the county together and working together as far as county, Green River, and Rock Springs, and how we want to move forward with that. So I think they would be a good group to include in the conversations and that as well.
No, definitely. Now that, like I said, I just was made aware of it, that, that I need to be involved with them here just this week, to be honest with you. So.
And I think Councilman Zotti, and I've sent numerous emails in our discussion, SCDC is our driving force in economic development. Several of us on the city council actually serve on the board. These two are basically the ramrod behind economic development. So I guess what I was trying to say is when you first approached me with a partnership agreement, I'm sure these folks, once they heard about it, wondered, what are you doing? And so I was a bit confused, so I pushed you in this direction.
And I appreciate it. And I follow your lead because, believe it or not, the other places that we've worked with, they have not had the relationship with the county that y'all have at all. Literally, I've watched a city official and a county official there in Mississippi literally get into a fist fight outside the meeting room, literally. So anyway, I always go that direction. Start as I've started with you, and then follow y'all's lead on it because that
Well,
way.
the benefit to not only with Mr. Bingham's role in SEDC, but he's also the county planner, and everything that you're talking about through the opportunity zones pretty much falls outside our corporate city limits, so it would have to go through the county process. So absolutely, SEDC is the vehicle to drive us to that point of permitting, planning, public meetings, the whole 9 yards. And no matter what we did, if we undertook it just between a partnership between Halcyon and the city of Rock Springs, we would eventually go straight back over to the county and have to go through that process. So,
And that's exactly why I'm talking about having the partnership. It streamlines things. I don't have to, do the guesswork thing.
But something that's, if I could, Your Honor.
go ahead.
I've been on those emails because I serve on SCDC, and you've been pointed to contact them for quite some time, and they've never met you. So it's concerning for you to it's concerning for you to sit here and tell us that you need us for the partnerships and who to go to, but you've been given that and you haven't gone that route. So something's not adding up with that.
Sir, I have a lot more things to do than just this, but I do, try to focus on things and work through it.
So you consider this a pretty good opportunity then?
In the beginning, I was told by the Senator Driscoll to work directly with Chad. And then it was to go to Mr. Cuomo. And so that's what I've been doing. Not trying to avoid anybody. It's just that, you got a lot of things going.
Well, we definitely appreciate the opportunity, and I can tell you the reason why this group SCDC exists is because we explore every opportunity that comes to our door front, and we also pursue those that we think would fit well here. So I think, and I stated in an email previously that each and every one of these projects we'd like to see go through a vetting process. I'm not quite sure if that's taken place as of yet, but maybe it takes quite some time. But you have to understand that we have to make sure that we have to do our research and investigation to make sure that everything is in place and that we follow the right procedure. So that being said, time frame wise, what are you looking at? Time frame.
Well,